Genealogists are known for digging into the past and searching for the long gone. But what if the greatest discovery isn't in the cemetery records, but quite the opposite? What if it's in the cousins, the siblings, and family branches that are still alive today? Coming up, we'll explore the surprising power of genealogy in reverse.
Branching out, we're diving in, tracing the lines, where do we begin? Branching out, the stories unfold, digging through the past to find the gold.
Welcome to another episode of the Branching Out Genealogy Podcast, your go-to guide for genealogy tips, tech, and tea. I'm Tammy Osmer-Mize, and I'm the manager and doer of everything at the free genealogy calendar of events website, conferencekeeper.org.
And I'm Elizabeth Swanee O'Neill, a board-certified genealogist and author of the family history lifestyle website, Heart of the Family.
We've got a fantastic episode for you today. We'll be chatting with professional genealogist Sherry Hudson Passy of Carolina Girl Genealogy about her brand new book, Genealogy in Reverse, Finding the Living, a practical guide for all genealogists. We'll be talking with Sherry about how her book came to be, her favorite tips for finding the living, and the importance of sharing what we know when we're reaching out to relatives. But first, we want to thank you all for tuning into our last episode, our very first attempt at video. We received so many kind comments, and from the analytics, it looks like you really enjoyed the addition of video. So good news, we're going to keep it going.
And I'd like to send out a huge thank you to all the amazing WikiTree volunteers who worked on my family tree for the August WikiTree Challenge. The big reveal of their findings happened on August 20th, and I was absolutely floored by what they uncovered about my French and French-Canadian ancestors. And honestly, I didn't expect to get so choked up at the end, but I kept thinking about how much it would have meant to my mom if she was still here. We didn't know very much about that side of the family, and she always insisted that her birth surname, Dagle, D-A-G-L-E, originally had an I in it, but I could never find any proof of that. Well, the WikiTree elves found it, and much more. So many thanks to Catherine Lake Hogan, Azure Robinson, and of course, Eowyn Langholf, who we interviewed in our last episode, along with all of the incredible WikiTree elves. You guys are awesome. And if any of you would like to watch the big reveal, it was recorded, and we will put a link in the show notes. Okay, Tammy, do you want to share what's new with you or what you're working on?
I would love to. I've got a couple updates, but of course, none of them involve finding secret vowels in my family surnames. My current goal, as I have stated many times, is finding Milo Allen, born in New York and lived in Northeast Ohio in the 1800s. I have been going over and over Family Search Labs in their full text search because I know they're always adding new things. So I just keep going back and checking again and checking again. I had seen Milo's will before. It had been in there, and several of the probate records had been in there. But this last search brought up the letters of administration, and it listed a man named Edward Allen as the administrator of his will, his probate and all. And it listed where Edward was living. And this is an Edward who I believe it's Milo's brother. I have thought that because of other family hints and records that I have, but I haven't found anything that actually tied the two of them together. There's no other documents that I found that puts Milo in any family situation with this whole group of Allens that I am sure is his family. So this was a real exciting start for me to have Edward's name found in that record. And I love the Family Search Lab so much.
All right, well, we're going to take a quick break now to hear from our fabulous sponsor, Vivid Pics. And when we come back, we'll be chatting with professional genealogist Sherry Hudson Passy about reverse genealogy. So don't go anywhere.
Don't let your memories fade due to the passage of time or cognitive decline. VividPic's memory station and software makes it simple to scan photos, documents, and mementos, restore these images, record voice narrative describing these memories, and share these wonderful memories with stories.
As we mentioned earlier, today we're diving into a topic that flips traditional genealogy upside down, literally. Instead of tracing backward to find our ancestors, what if we turned the process around and worked forward to connect with living descendants?
Our guest today has literally written the book on this approach. We're thrilled to welcome Sherry Hudson Passy, professional genealogist, blogger at Carolina Girl Genealogy, host of the Gen Friends panel show on YouTube, and now author of Genealogy in Reverse, Finding the Living.
So grab your favorite beverage or cup of tea, but don't spill any yet, and join us as we explore genealogy in reverse with Sherry Hudson Passy. Sherry, welcome to the podcast.
It's so good to be here. So good to see you too.
We're happy to have you today. Can you start by telling us how Genealogy in the Reverse came about? How did you come up with this book idea?
Well, the book idea came from a presentation that I give. I have been doing repatriation work for the U.S. Army for about 6-7 years now, and that's really how I find the families for the soldiers, is doing genealogy in reverse, which is just looking for living ancestors. So I created a presentation, and I've given it several times, and then I was asked to create the book. And so I said, okay. So I put the book together, hoping that it will help people by using some of the tips and tricks that I use, some of the methodologies that I use to help find living people, because those living people are the ones that might know the answers to your genealogy questions.
That's really interesting what you mentioned about your work with it's the U.S. Army repatriation, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
tell us a little bit about that work and how you got into it, how you got involved in the first place. I'm real curious about that.
Okay, well, how I got involved in the first place, I just got a phone call one day from somebody who said, "Hey, I've got an interesting offer for you. Can you give me a call back?" And of course, I'm going, and I thought, well, yeah, this person had a name that is the same name as somebody who is in genealogy that's a pretty well-known professional genealogist, but I knew it wasn't that person. So I thought, okay, this is strange. I need to, call back and see what is going on. And it turns out that the company that I work for is actually out of South Carolina, and they were just going through the APG website, the Association for Professional Genealogists, going through the website, looking for, didn't have to be South Carolina people, but I think somebody mentioned my name because there were other people working for them that I knew. And he looked at my profile and he says, "I think you'd be good for this," and gave me a call. And I said, okay. And one of the big reasons I wanted to do this, and what I do is the Army sends a case, and then the cases get divvied out to all the different genealogists. And our job is to look for next of kin and then people who can give DNA to identify any remains. And once he told me what they were doing, I thought this is perfect. And one of the reasons, and I dedicated the book to my grandfather and his brothers. My grandfather died in World War II, and two of his brothers died in World War II. And one of those soldiers has not come back. His body has not been returned to the United States. And I thought, well, maybe if I do this, maybe it will be one of these cases where, I put it forward and then maybe somebody will open up a case on him. After doing this for about 5 years, guess what? A case was opened up on it's my granduncle. It's a different group that are doing it because he was Army Air Corps. And they called me and they said, "Hey, we know you do this, so we're just skipping all the formalities and we're going to call you. You tell us who we should call, who would be next of kin." So I gave them all that information. And we never know if anybody's going to be ID'd and returned. We don't know. All we can do is find those people, ask them if they're willing to help, and then it moves forward from there. So I know in this case, the family was more than happy to help. I don't know. The family was told right after World War II that he had died in an airplane crash outside of Sicily. Well, it turns out that plane didn't go into the water. That plane actually landed on Sicily, and there were people who escaped from that plane. Some of them were taken hostage. So did he get taken hostage and die there, or I don't know. we don't know. And I get that a lot of times when I'm calling family and saying, hey, this case has opened up on your family. They'll say, oh, but they'd never find a body, plane went down the ocean or blah, 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 blah. They're still living on those reports that they got at the time. Well, if you think about it, things change. Things change. Information. It's not like there was live 24-hour a day TV coverage during World War II. So anyway, I jumped at the chance because I wanted to pay it forward so that maybe, hopefully, one day Edmund would be brought home. And so I dedicated the book to those three boys.
Has anything come of that with your uncle?
Not yet. Not yet. I'm waiting. I know that the family it did their part. And so we're just waiting to see. Sometimes it can take a long time. I always tell the families, now this is the Army. The Army's doing its best. They've got a lot of cases. And so nothing works at a very fast speed. And so it could be a long time before you hear anything. So I jumped at the chance because I thought, this is really cool. This is really cool. Maybe by my doing this work, it will somehow help him get home. And so maybe that's the case.
So, Sherry, it sounds like doing the research for the living is similar to doing ancestral research, but a lot more specialized. So how do the methods that you use to locate living people translate into things that a genealogist researching their ancestry might use?
Well, a lot of times to find the living, you've got to go up the tree. So you've got to work up the tree, and then you've got to go sideways and then back down the tree because you're looking for specific people. When you're looking for next of kin, that's pretty straightforward because you're just going down and looking to see who's still alive. Right? But I also need to find DNA connections. And sometimes you think about these soldiers died, in World War II. A lot of them, their parents are not going to still be alive, of course. Most of their siblings are gone. I have found some children, though, which has been a great thing is when I call and find that they've got children still alive. But most of it is getting down to nieces and nephews and sometimes first and second cousins. And sometimes we're getting into removed, And so a lot of, as you do your regular genealogy, you'll see that people daughtered out or they sunned out or whatever. There's just none left. And so there isn't any DNA. And so you've got to go back up a generation. So you've got to do the research. Typical genealogy research should go back up a generation, find all their children, and then come back down and see if any of them had somebody that you can use for DNA. So what's different, which is probably what's different, is when you're looking for living people, you're not always going to find them in records, right? You're not going to get on Ancestry, and because we're not supposed to put information on our trees, right, about living people. But the book will show there are some tips and tricks that you can use, even with those people that are marked deceased, that you can get some clues and hints because they may be connected to somebody who's living, and that'll give you a clue.
Yeah, we think we have privacy, but it's kind of false privacy. We have none.
And people always ask me when I call them, when I connect with them, they'll be, how did you find me? Because they think like, oh, I thought all my stuff was private. Now, there are people that I think they've been very successful about going off the grid because I can't find them anywhere. And then when I can't find somebody, the company that I work for has, it's a PI company, so they've got even, better tools than I could even use. And when they can't find them either, that somebody's living in the mountains or something. They've gone off the grid. But for the most part, I can find people, and they do want to know how I found them. I use social media because people don't keep their profiles private, and they'll put things like, I visited my grandkids, and everybody in the world can see who their grandkids are,
Yeah, when I was working on a case study using DNA, I would look at my husband and go, I feel like a stalker. This
Yes.
just, it feels so creepy. Do these people
Yes.
know this information is available?
They don't
And-
know.
And one person said, well, how did you find me? How do you know this relationship? I said, well, your son left his wedding website up and it had your picture and all the whole wedding party was pictured. And
That creepy stalker there. So is that your next book then, Sherry, is the How Not to Be Found?
How to get off the grid. Yeah, I recently contacted a mother-daughter duo because they posted the picture. They didn't name who they were, but somebody in their comments said, oh, you two look like sisters instead of mother-daughter. And I was like, yeah.
there you go. Be
Thank
careful.
you.
Yeah, I gotta watch those comments. You try and be private, and then
I know. I know. I found people on, well, I guess they call it X now, just any social media. I just try to find people on it. There was one man I could not get a hold of no matter what I did. I sent him all these letters, phone calls. He would not answer me, but he was so impressed that I sent him a private message on X that he was like, wow.
of all things.
Wow. Yeah. And so and I really needed him. He was one of the next of kins. I really needed him. So you just never know.
So, getting back to your book, what was it like to see your name on a published book for the first time? How
Oh
did that feel?
my gosh. Well, the first time I actually saw the mock-up of the book was at NGS, the National Genealogical Conference at
Louisville.
thank you. And so I walked in, and the bookseller, the genealogical publishing company, it said coming soon. It was supposed to be out, but they had issues and problems, whatever. It doesn't, publishing doesn't always go the way you want it to go. But anyway, they had this big poster and it said coming soon, and it had my name, and they had me take a picture next to it. And it was the most surreal thing I ever had to deal with. It was just, never in my life did I think I would write a book. And then when they sent me the box of books, I was like, my name is on this. And of course, not only can you get it from them, but if you go into Amazon and you type my name into Amazon, it's there, which my kids think is really cool because, you can type in mom's name and a book comes up.
If it's on Amazon, then it's real, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Now you know you've made it.
I guess so, but I mean, it's thrilling, but I just really hope that it helps people is what I'm hoping. I'm hoping it helps you find that cousin that ended up with the family Bible, the one that has stories that you don't know, or different versions of the stories that or, the records, or those answers to questions, or the DNA. That you desperately need to be able to prove relationships. It's not a very big book because there's only so much you can say about the methodology, and I can't show examples of living people or write the stories of living people. So, but
And they can't all be John Doe in the book, or that would
no,
just,
you can't. No,
Test taker 1.
yeah, and so it just gets a little monotonous. But it's just a brief, really just walkthrough of how I've done it. It's exciting, yes, but I just hope it helps somebody. It just helps somebody to be able to connect and do that genealogy happy dance that I talk about, where you make those connections. Yeah, it's thrilling to be able to have people call you back and say, hey, yes, you've got the right person. I had that yesterday with one of my soldier cases. He called. A lot of people won't call me because they think it's some kind of, you know,
Creepy stalker.
to try to get money from them or something. And for those of you that don't know, the Army pays for all of this. The Army will pay for the DNA test. If they identify remains, the next of kins are the ones that decide where the body goes. Will they just bury the body right there with a nice, headstone? Or does the family want the body brought home? Well, the Army pays for every penny of that. So it's a wonderful program. It's a wonderful program.
So that brings up a question to me. When you're cold contacting the living relatives that you find, what's your advice on how to make contact? Do you start with a phone call? Do you start with emails? How do you approach that?
I start with a letter, and it's a signature required letter because I need to know that I've got the right people. I've got to make sure I've got the right people. And usually nobody's
Regular
gonna,
old postal USPS.
right. So it's a signature required letter that I send, and there's a form letter that the Army gives me, but I just introduce who I am, what I'm looking for, why I'm sending this letter. If it's a person that's way far down the line and they're never even going to understand, I mean, it's one thing to say your grandmother was the soldier's aunt. I mean, they can click on that, but when it's farther down, I will create a tree and show them why they're connected and tell them that, I'd like to talk to you and help you understand why distantly related people are also needed for, helping these soldiers come home. And so, so I start out with a letter first, because that way they can kind of, think about what they have. And then once I know it's been delivered, because I get it tracked, once I know it's been delivered, then I'll make a phone call Some people will call me right away when the letter, I'll get this phone call. I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know it had been delivered yet. But it's because they know the story. You might find when you're doing it for your own genealogy research, you might even hit on another genealogist in the family that you didn't even know that they were a genealogist in the family. And they're so excited to get right in touch with you. It's the people that really don't know the family very well that can be a little, I don't know. I don't know if this is real, and I don't know if I want to contact that person back. What do they want? What do they really want from me? And so I think to be as explicit and detailed as you can in that letter, if that's the way you want to start, I would start with the letter because it's something tangible they can hold on to with all of your contact information. So they can look you up if you've got a website, they can look you up on there. If you've got a tree somewhere that I'm truly, really a genealogist, whatever it takes to help them understand that you're legit. You're not trying to scam them in some way, shape, or form. I do the letter first because I find that people don't want the cold calls or they won't answer their phone. But I have had to cold call people before. Most people don't answer their phone. They don't know the phone number, right? I
Nope.
don't.
I
I
know.
never answer my phone. I figure if they really need me, they will leave a message. And so I do. I will leave a message explaining to them why I'm calling them.
So, one of the tips that caught my attention in your book was searching for surname plus family reunion on YouTube.
Yes.
I mean, I think I'm a pretty good stalker, but that one, I never thought of that before. And that seems like a really great idea. Can you share another of your favorite hidden gem strategies from the book?
Well, I alluded to it earlier, and that was when you get on a family tree and you see all these people marked as living, and so you just pass them by. Well, what I've discovered and have been able to use is if you forget it says living, click on it anyway, because their spouse may have died. And that information is going to be there. Or sadly, they may have had a child die. And that's going to lead you to, okay, if you can figure out who their spouse is or who their child was, you can find that living person because you can start looking for obituaries and details about those people. And I don't know that a lot of people have done that because I've talked to people about that and they've gone, really? I'm like, yeah, just because your person you're looking for, they don't have their information on there because they're alive. Well, they may have had people in their family that have passed away. And so it's kind of another stalkerish kind of thing, but it's using it's just using that tree for all the information that it has, and I think sometimes we forget that those kind of things might be on there.
Yeah, I've actually done that and
Yeah.
had some success with had a deceased spouse or
Yeah.
child or, even parents that were deceased
Yeah.
and their name would come up on some kind of a document.
That's
So
true.
that is a really good tip.
That is true, and sometimes people think, "Well, if I search the parents, their living children are not gonna come up," which is so wrong
Not
because
true.
they're gonna come up and, try looking to see if people have their own websites because they don't tend to follow that rule. Their
Yeah,
own website.
like I said, that guy's wedding website named everybody in his family.
Exactly. So, I mean, just think about it. I think sometimes we get that in our heads sometimes is, oh, if they're living, we can't find them. Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. Another thing you can do is go on these sites like Family Tree Now or Been Verified. Look up the parent that they're deceased. Okay, look them up and they'll have on there, yeah, they're deceased, but they'll have other family members give you a whole list of people that you can contact. Their wife will be on there, or somebody that you might say, oh, I think that's their wife based on their birth date, their children. So you get a lot of information off deceased people about their living family.
So, Sherry, now that you've published your first book, do you see another one in your future?
Oh gosh, a couple of others have been suggested, but like it took me long enough to write this one.
How long did it take you?
Well, it took me longer than it should have because unfortunately during that time, the process that I was writing it, my mother was here with us and then she passed away and so I had to kind of focus on other things for a while. But yeah, the publishers have said maybe we could do an update to this one at some point, and then he's thrown out some other ideas for some other books. I'm like, maybe, maybe.
So where can people find your book? This is where you get the chance to talk about where we can order your book from, and how they can connect with you online and find out more about you and what you're doing.
Sure. To order the book, you can go to Amazon and type my name in if you want, or the name of the book in, and it'll come up, and you can find it that way. And of course, the Genealogical Publishing Company offers an ebook version as well as the printed book. And I want to tell people about the printed book. The way Genealogical Publishing Company does it is they print on demand. So I had a couple of people say to me, "Hey, I ordered this book and I still haven't gotten it yet." It's because they print on demand. So you order, they print, they send it to you. So be aware of that. So those are a couple of ways. My website is carolinagirlgenealogy.com, and I've got a link to the book on there when you go onto the website. I would love to connect with people. I do a lot of speaking. I would love for people to, if they've even looked at the book or flipped through it and got an idea and used it, I would love to hear from people. So either, via email, in person, or whatever, I would love to hear from anybody that may have used an idea and was able to connect with people. Or if you've got an idea that you've used that I don't have in the book, I'd love to hear that too. So, because that'll help me, that'll help us all, that'll help me in my work.
That'll be in the revised
That'll
edition.
be in the revised edition, right? Right. So I love to hear from people, and I love to hear anytime any suggestion that I ever give, or a talk or whatever. If somebody has been successful with anything, even the smallest little thing, I love to hear about it. So I love to hear from people.
Well, thanks so much for being with us today. This has been really fun. We've learned a lot about you and your book, and all the backstory. I love it.
Well, I appreciate you having me on. It was a fun thing to do. I'm still in a little bit of shock that I I wrote a book and anybody's even interested in it. I mean, so
Well, your book is Genealogy in Reverse: Finding a Living. It's definitely full of practical tools and basic instruction on both directions of genealogy, really. So I think it's a great thing for anybody at any stage. A beginner, like I said, it goes both it goes both ways.
That's exactly. Exactly. Well, thank you so much. And like I said, I'd love to hear from anybody that the book helps. I would love to hear from you. So I appreciate you guys having me on today. Thank you so much.
Well, before you go, we've got some exciting news for everybody out in listener land. We're going to be giving away a copy of Sherry's book to one of our lucky listeners. So to enter, please head over to our website at branchingout.show and look for the giveaway link.
Good luck.
And of course, if you don't want to wait, you can purchase the book, as Jerry said, at Genealogical Publishing Company or at Amazon or wherever you get your genealogy reads. And we'll put all those links in the show notes.
Thanks so much.
So again, thank you, Sherry. We're so happy that you were able to spend some time with us today on the podcast.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you.
All right, so we're back. That was a fun and interesting interview with Sherry talking about reverse genealogy. Hopefully, you're all going to find lots of cousins and living relatives to exchange your information with going forward. But now, Tammy is chomping at the bit to share a fabulous tech tip for you. So let's get to that.
Hi. I love browser extensions, and I have so many that I can't keep them all open at the same time. So I'm just really excited to be able to share a couple of them with you that I hope might help make some of your workflows easy as well. The one I'm going to talk about today, the only one I'm going to talk about today, is called Open Multiple URLs, and you'll never guess what it does. It
Does it
opens.
open multiple URLs?
Oh my gosh, you're just right on top of things, aren't you? It's really great if you have a list of URLs that you want to open all into all tabs, and I'll give you an example of how I use it here. So let me share my screen. So first off, if you want to download the extension, it's in the Google Chrome Web Store, and this is the one it looks like. It's got these little file folders with a green plus sign on it. After you download it and add it to your toolbar, I don't know that my toolbar shows up well here, but up at the top, it just is in one of your extension files. Once you have that loaded into your Google Chrome browser, which is what I use, and I imagine it may work for Edge as well. I don't know about Mac, so we're just sticking with PC stuff. I've got to switch screens, so I will go to where I have Oh my goodness. Hold on. Why isn't it letting me? Hold on. Sorry.
I was gonna hum some elevator music. Raindrops keep falling on my head.
Yay, that shows what I wanted to show. So once you've loaded it, you can go to your list of URLs that you might want to open. And this is some book sites, books and newspapers that I might want to open them all and search all of them for whoever it is I'm looking for. So I'm going to highlight and copy just the list of URLs. Go up into my list of extensions here, and I find this one right here is my open multiple URLs. It opens up this window like this. I just Control V and paste in that list and go over here and hit open URLs and look at
Oh.
those tabs open.
Wow.
Yep. And so now they're all there and ready for me. I didn't have to go in and click each one or anything like that. You know, as genealogists, we often have a certain set of URLs that we open every time or when we're doing a certain type of research or anything like that. So this is a great way to get those tabs all open and get working from there.
All right, so give it a try and let us know how you're enjoying Tammy's tech tip about open URLs. Well, that sound means that we're back with Tea Time, where we share the latest hot goss from the genealogy world.
And today we've come prepared with our fancy china teacups. And I will tell you about my fancy china teacup. This is a Royal Albert, and I inherited it from my mother, who had inherited it from a woman who was living in Canada and was also British. But the thing about this cup that I really like, I made notes here. Royal Albert China is named after Prince Albert, who if family lore and my research is correct, was my great-great-grandfather.
No.
Yeah,
Seriously?
serious.
So
Uh-huh.
I'm sitting here with actual royalties?
Yes, you are. If
Wow.
bastard children count. So now tell about your teacup.
Well, I don't have anything quite that fancy. As I was telling Tammy a few days ago, I opened my china cabinet and the shelf collapsed. So I had to quickly pull out as much as I could from the top shelf. I didn't hear any crunching of china, so I think the stuff under the shelf is still okay, but I need my husband to help me dig it out. And you know how it is getting husbands to do anything. So I was able to get my mother's china. This was her china from her second marriage, and this is something contemporary. It's Mikasa bone china remembrance. And I love the delicate little pink flowers because pink is my favorite color, in case you haven't figured that out. And I don't have any tea in mine because I would probably just spill it all over myself. And I've already had my quota of caffeine for today, so no more for me.
Well, mine's a ginger pear herbal tea
Oh, that
because
sounds
of
delicious.
same reason. I do the coffee 1 cup in the morning to wake me up, and after that, if I do caffeine, I am bouncing off the ceiling. So what have you got in the tea department, Elizabeth?
Oh boy. Today we are spilling the tea on the Department of Veterans Affairs and their decision to stop filling FOIA requests for veterans' claim files submitted through burls.org. Now, in some of our previous episodes, we talked about what a wonderful resource this was, and we encouraged you to submit your requests through that site, which is a project of Reclaim the Records.
And apparently more than 20,000 of you submitted requests or multiple requests.
Yeah, some of you more than others. I think I must have submitted about half a dozen back in December.
True.
But, if they've got 20,000 faxes laying on the floor, it's kind of no wonder that they've said, no, thank you, no more. We're not taking any more of these. And they probably need their own pot of tea just to deal with all that paperwork.
That's the truth. The VA said that they've gotten so many requests that they're not going to fill them anymore. And in July, they posted an update on their website, and the update says, beginning in late July 2025, the Department of Veteran Affairs instituted a drastic change in how they respond to Freedom of Information Act requests, that's FOIA, for copies of claim files of deceased veterans. Those are the XC files. Instead of providing a PDF of the file with minimal redactions, the VA is now refusing to provide any copies of the files. In its place, the agency is releasing a summary of what the VA has deemed to be releasable genealogical information. These fields are, okay, so if you've received one back, you know what these fields are. It's basically name, date, when they got married, their parents' names if they're deceased, which they are obviously to your filing this. Basically the same information that you filled out on the form that you sent to them. So the policy change now affects all requests, filings via the burls.org website, but Reclaim the Records is actively investigating their options to fight this change and hopes to have updates for us by the end of August of this year, 2025. However, they do expect it's going to be a long, drawn-out effort to make the changes for the record set as a whole. You can read about it and follow their updates at Reclaim the Records. Now, I received 2 of these, and they're just, okay, completely useless. So there's that. But I think you have a different story about that.
I was one of the lucky ones who actually got a full file. So let's talk about what we're receiving in response to these requests before the update compared to what they're sending us now. So let me share my screen here.
I expect to see your desk covered with stacks of file folders.
Actually, what they sent me is a CD or DVD with a PDF file on it. And it's a really huge PDF file because there are a ton of pages on it. So as you can see here, it's and I'm not going to show you a lot of the really personal information, but I am going to show you a little comparison of what we're getting. So back in February, I received a file in response to a request that I sent in December, which I guess is before the VA got overwhelmed. And this one was for my second cousin twice removed, Wright Sanders Swanee, who served in the Army during World War II. As you can see here, it really looks like they sent me his entire XC file.
We're all jealous.
I just got lucky, I guess. So, there's all kinds of papers about his benefits. As you can see, there's his funeral home information, and this is really huge, but
Looks like pension.
yeah, I haven't even really processed all of these documents. But here you can see I got an actual copy of his death certificate from
Wow.
the state of Tennessee. And I would not have legally been able to obtain this document from the Tennessee Vital Records Department since he died in 2011, and I'm not immediate next of kin. What the state of Tennessee gives you is a verification of death facts for someone who died within the last 50 years. So I got really lucky.
No kidding. I mean, and like I said, we're all so jealous because this is a far cry from what I received for the 2 that I submitted. Although I did submit them probably a month or month and a half after you did. I remember we talked about this when you first sent them.
Yeah, so let me show you what you will be getting now. Okay, so on the left here is my FOIA request that I submitted. You can see I signed my name digitally and it looks like a 3-year-old tried to do it. But this is the information that I sent. I sent his name, his date of birth, date of death, his service number, which I was able to look up, and his social security number and information about his service, his branch of service. So I already had that information. But here's what the VA sent me. No birth certificate, no marriage license, no names of parents. Oh, look, they sent me his name, the date that he enlisted, and nothing else.
What a colossal waste of time and manpower for everyone involved in those.
Very much so. They sent me nothing that I didn't already have. And in the file that I didn't show you is information about his wife and his wife's death. Stuff I would never have been able to get otherwise.
No, that's amazing. And I don't even know that's just I'm sorry. I'm just speechless. It's like if you go to a restaurant and you order a piece of cake and all they do is put a photocopy of the piece of cake on your plate and say, "Here, this is what you ordered because you ordered it out of the menu."
Yeah, it's like, here's the sprinkles, but you can't have any cupcake. So I don't know. It's disappointing, but on the one hand, I feel kind of like they're overwhelmed, but on the other hand, do your job. It's public information. The deceased have no privacy rights.
Well, I'm looking. I very much appreciate and look forward to what Reclaim the Records can do for us, so that we'll make it more easy to get this information. I know they've already posted some instructions if you are an immediate relative. Like I could now, since my father's passed away, I could now go get his files, since I am obviously a direct descendant. So they do have instructions for reapplying if that's your case, but for the most part, we're just going to have to wait for the rest of them.
So you already sent in the request for your dad's file?
I haven't just yet.
I would be curious to know how far you get with that as next of kin. So
Yeah, and I mean, fortunately, I've got all the documents I need, especially since we just did the DAR application, and I had to make sure I had everything for that. So that's pretty exciting.
well, keep us updated on how that goes for you.
Well, I'm going to talk next about some more tea in our genealogy world, and that is about the Plaza Hotel in Salt Lake City, which has been a very popular hotel for many people going to research at the library there in Salt Lake City or going to Roots Tech. And the big news is that the hotel is closing. Their operations end on November 1st, 2025, this year, and complete demolition, will begin shortly thereafter. It's going to be totally torn down and replaced with a parking lot, at least temporarily. Now, for those who think that they're tearing down a perfectly good building, one press release stated that the closing was partly due to rising costs to maintain, operate, and update the aging structure. And according to a very reliable source on a Zoom call I was on recently, the hotel has lasted longer than it probably should have. And just as an FYI, the land is owned by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, so the hotel has been renting the space from them for all these years. Now, the reason that they're making it into a parking lot, at least temporarily, is that the Salt Lake Temple is being renovated and redecorated, and they just totally redo the inside, get everything clean, shiny, brand new again. And they're going to do a grand reopening in 2027. Now, I'm going to just put a little aside in here about the temples. Most folks know that in the LDS faith, the temples are a sacred place, and access is only available to faithful members with a temple recommend, and definitely not to the public. But the only exception to this is when a new temple has been built before it has been dedicated, or when it has been remodeled and before it has been rededicated. They hold a big open house, and anyone, members of the public, anyone can tour the building. And I highly recommend you take the opportunity any chance that that comes up for you, because they are just amazing inside. But back to the Plaza Hotel, though, they're expecting busloads of people in for the rededication in 2027, hence the parking lot to help accommodate all the busloads of people coming in for that. But they will probably do something with the land after that, but there's been no hints as to what might possibly go up there after the parking lot's no longer needed.
I keep hearing that song in my head about they paved paradise, put in a parking lot. It
Yeah, I
doesn't
don't know
sound like
that
it was paradise. So
I don't know that I called the Plaza the Paradise, but yeah, that's pretty funny.
I've never stayed there, believe it or not.
I know, and now I feel guilty because people are saying, "Oh, you just walked out the back door and you were at the Family History Library," and now I'm remembering, yep, we cut through there when we were going through there. Now, something that anyone who plans to attend Roots Tech in person, you might want to consider making sure you have your hotel reservations earlier rather than later, because with the hotel being torn down, that's 150 rooms that will not be available. So that's people will be looking for their accommodations elsewhere. So, well, before we end for the day, I want to talk about a couple of big upcoming events that are being co-hosted by our wonderful sponsor, Vivid Picks. I'm going to go ahead and share these things. The first event is going to be on October 3rd. It looks like it's going to be both live and in person and online, usually via Zoom. And this is Vivid Pics and in cooperation with Allen County Public Library at their Genealogy Center in Fort Wayne. And they are doing a presentation called Transform Your Activity Calendar and Really Stand Out: Innovative Tools to Boost Joy, Engagement, and Reminiscence in Elder Care. And we all know that genealogy is one of our favorite pastimes, especially as we get older and have more time to spend on it, because who doesn't want to spend 24 hours a day on it? But anyhow, this is going to be a really excellent program. They've got brain health and photo reminiscence, family history and community services, and that'll be Kurt Witcher talking about that, as well as other employees of the Genealogy Center there. They've got a section on aging and thriving, and then Rick Voigt from Vivid Pics will be talking about the Vivid Pics suite of tools to preserve memories and stories as well. And that again is on October 3rd, and that's a Friday, and the in-person will be up there at the library in Fort Wayne. And then so the second event that I wanted to show you is right here. And this one will be October 11th. And this one, I believe, is in person only. If you're in the Charleston, South Carolina area, this would be something really fun to do. It's a whole community celebration, and Vivid Pics and the International African American Museum, South Carolina Historical Society, Family Search, the National Genealogical Society, and the African American Historical and Genealogical Societies, they're all going in together on this. So it just sounds like it's going to be a huge family history event, and it is free. So that is going to be on October 11th. And of course, both of these can be found on the Conference Keeper calendar. So these are two events coming up, and I hope that you're able to attend one or both of them. Well, that's our show. Thanks again to Sherry Hudson Passy for being with us today, and thank you to all of you for listening.
And we'd love to hear from you. Have you tried using genealogy in reverse to find family, relatives, and friends? Share your stories with us in the comments on social media or send us a message through our website. And don't forget to head over to our website at branchingout.show to enter the giveaway to win a copy of Sherry's book, Genealogy in Reverse.
Now, while you're at it, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our wonderful upcoming episodes. If you're enjoying the show and listening on your favorite podcast platform, please leave a quick review, as it's one of the best ways to help other people find our podcast as well.
Until next time, happy researching.